In today's podcast, I'll look at the song Sheep, Crook and Black Dog, also known as My Flora and I, and Spread the Green Branches. I'll look at its known background and printing history, sing samples of the different versions, and end on a full performance. Oh, spread the green branches over whilst I am young, so well did I like my love, so sweetly she sung. Was ever a man in such a happy estate as me with my Flora, fair Flora so brave? I will go to my Flora, and this I will say, tomorrow we'll be married, it wants but one day. One day, said fair Flora, that day is to come. To be married so early, my age is too young. We'll go for a service we'll get, and perhaps in a few years after, might substance and reap. Oh, don't go to service, leaving me here to cry. Oh yes, lovely shepherd, I'll tell you for why. We got her to service she went, to wait on a lady, which was her intent. To wait on a lady, a rich lady so gay, who clothed fair Flora in costly array. That tune was collected by Ralph Vaughan Williams in May 1904 from Mr. Stacey of Hollycombe in Sussex. A young shepherd has been courting Flora. He proposes to her and wishes to set a wedding date. Flora is reluctant. She feels she's too young. She decides to take a job as a lady's maid. When the shepherd writes to her to ask when she will return, Flora says she's contented with her current life and has no intention of becoming a shepherd's wife. The shepherd is so disheartened, he gives up his job as a shepherd. The origin of this song is vague. It can be traced back to the late 18th century and a broadside named The Constant Shepherd and The Unconstant Shepherdess, which had wide distribution through England during the mid-part of the 18th century. The earliest recorded date was around 1775. William Christie published a version of Sheep, Crook and Black Dog with a tune in 1881 in Traditional Ballad Airs Volume 2. He collected the tune in Banffshire in Scotland, and the narrative is called Clara and Corydon as the Shepherd and his Love. The narrative is clearly a formal poem, but I've not been able to trace its author or its origin. The content of the poem follows the same storyline as the later broadside versions. The shepherd's name is Corydon, which was often used in the 17th and 18th century poetry as the name of a shepherd. This arises from the name used for a shepherd in Edmund Spenser's The Faerie Queene. The poetic use of the name Corydon can be traced back to the Roman poets. Clara and Corydon is recited from the view of a narrator who's walking through the meadows and overhears a discussion between the shepherd and his love. Now, I can only make a conjecture, as I have no direct evidence, but it's possible that the composer of The Constant Shepherd broadside used Clara and Corydon as the narrative framework, reducing the poetic language, renaming the characters to fit in with the street appeal of the broadside press. The shepherdess becomes Flora, and the shepherd is unnamed, but takes on the role of the narrator. The use of formal poetry as a basis for later street song or country song is not unknown. The poem The Shepherd Adonis was reworked to become The Shepherd of the Downs. A later street ballad printing during the early 19th century under the title The Unkind Shepherdess is a later reworking of the song. This text seems to be the main source of the text used in the later collected versions of the song in the south of England. The text can be found in the version collected by Lucy Broadwood from Mr. Grantham from Surrey and printed in English County Songs, published in 1893, and in the version Percy Merrick collected from Mr. Henry Hills of Lodsworth in West Sussex in January 1900. It was printed in the Folk Song Journal for 1901, and it sounds like this.
We got her to service she went, to wait on a lady, which was her intent, to wait on a lady, and a rich lady gay, who clothed fair Flora in costly array. A little time after, a letter he sent, with 3 or 4 lines in it, to know her intent. She wrote that she lived in such contented life, that she never did intend to be a young shepherd's wife. These words and expression appeared like a dart. I'll pluck up my spirits and cheer up my heart, hoping that she'll never write to me so any more. Her answer convinced me quite over and o'er. My ewes and my lambs, I'll bid them adieu. My bottle and budget I'll leave here with you. My sheep, Crook and black dog I'll leave here behind, since Flora, fair Flora, so changed her mind.
The tunes for Sheep, Crook and Black Dog collected in the south of England in the early 1900s as a basic root tune, but they do vary from area to area. A variation was found in Ireland under the title of My Flora and I. A copy was printed in Songs of the People, edited by Sam Henry. The singer Eddie Butcher of McGilligan in County Derry, Ulster, recorded a fine version which sings like this.
As I went a-walking one evening in June, to view the green fields and the meadows in bloom, the leaves on the branches were covered with the young, and the small birds sat on them, so sweetly they sang. There is no one in the world so happy as me and my Flora and me. I'll go down to my Flora, and thus I will say, when will we get married, love? When is the day? Out spoke the fair one, saying the day is not come. Besides, my young shepherd, to wed I'm too young. I'll go first to service, and when I return, it's then we'll get married, if love carries on. So according to promise, to service she went, to wait on a fine lady, it was Flora's intent. For to wait on this lady, this rich lady gay, she dressed my fair Flora in costly array.
Shepherds and shepherdesses are featured in many songs, poems and ballads. This is understandable when we consider that prior to industrialisation, the farm work was a major occupation. The styles range from the fantasy ideal of shepherdesses awaiting their true love to more realistic views of hard life and caring for sheep in all weathers. The song has been found quite widespread throughout the south of England, Ireland and Canada. The version most commonly heard in folk clubs these days is probably influenced by the version collected by Hugh McColl from Caroline Hughes, a traveller, who was living near Poole in Dorset in 1963. McColl's version of the song was recorded in 1966. I'll end this podcast with that version of the song.
There's me black dog and sheep, Crook, I will give it to you. There's me bag and me budget, I will bid it adieu. There's me sheep, crook, and black dog, I will leave it behind. Fine floral, fine laurel, you proved all unkind. All to my dear Dinah, these words I did say. Tomorrow we'll be married, love. Tomorrow is the day. It's too soon, dear Willie, my age is too young. One day to our wedding is one day too soon. Now I'll go into service, if the day ain't too late, to wait on a fine lady, it is my intent. And when into service a year or two bound, it's then we'll get married and both settle down. Oh, a little time after a letter was wrote, for to hear if my Dinah had changed her mind. And she wrote that she lived such a contrary life. She said that she'd never be a young shepherd's wife. There's me black dog and sheep, crook, I will give it to you. There's me bag and me budget, I will bid it adieu. There's me sheep, crook, and black dog, I will leave it behind. Fine floral, fine laurel, you proved all unkind.